Welcome to the vintrace tank map tutorial. In this video, we'll explain what the tank map is and why you might want to create one. We'll show you how to set up your own tank maps so that it's the right size and includes the tanks that you want. Finally, we'll show you the ins and outs of using the tank map, including how you can reuse any saved searches you might have. A tank map gives you a bird's eye view of the tanks at a location so that you can plan their layout and view their details. You can think of it as a floor plan of your tanks. Once you've created a tank map, other system users will be able to view and edit it. vintrace lets you create multiple tank maps so that you can have one for each location where you've got your tanks set up. Before you create a tank map, be sure that you've added your tanks to vintrace. You can read our Setting Up a Tank article for details. There are 3 key steps to setting up a new tank map. The first is to specify the map size and other configuration settings. The second step is to compile a list of the tanks that you might want to add to the map. The last step is to position the tanks on the map. Let's walk through each of these steps. In our first step, we'll define the map size and other configuration settings, such as its name and default display size. To create a tank map, click the tank map icon in the sidebar. Next, click the plus icon in the upper right and select New Tank Map. Enter a name for the tank map that will help you and other users identify it. The next 2 settings in the window determine the size of the tank map. Each map is defined in terms of a grid that has columns and rows. Enter the number of columns and rows in the next 2 fields. For our example, we'll create a tank map that's 10 columns and 10 rows. The tank map zoom level determines the default display size. A lower number displays the tank map at a smaller size. For example, a zoom level of 10% is smaller than a zoom level of 50%. The Fit to Screen option automatically adjusts the zoom level so that the entire tank map is visible on your screen. Keep in mind that the zoom level you specify is just the default and that you can change it while viewing the tank map. Next, select up to 5 metrics and 5 details that you want displayed for each tank. These metrics and details display when you hover over a tank. After you've selected the metrics and details, click Next. A blank grid displays. This is where we'll eventually add tanks to the map. The number of columns and rows will reflect the size that you specified in the previous screen. Each space on the tank map displays 2 numbers. The first number indicates the column, and the second number is the row. For example, this space is in column 3, row 5. If the tank map that you've set up exceeds what can be displayed on the screen, you can click the arrows to move the display up, down, left, and right. The next step is to select the tanks that you might want to add to the tank map. We'll do this by adding the tanks to what's referred to as the deck. The deck is a holding area where you can put all the tanks that you want to eventually put on the tank map. To search for your tanks, click from Search. The Vessel Search window displays numerous filters for finding the tanks that you want. By default, the Windows Vessel Type filter already has tanks selected. You can even use a saved search. Let's say that we only want to include the tanks that are owned by Vintrace Winery. We'll specify that filter, then click Search. You can click the tank's code to view its details. To include a tank in the deck, click anywhere in the row. Vintrace shades the row to indicate that it's selected. If you change your mind, you can click the row again to deselect it. Or you can click None to deselect all rows that were selected. Our list of tanks is still pretty long, so I'm going to add another filter and only include tanks that are in the tank farm. If we want to include all the tanks listed, we could click each row separately, but that would take a long time. An easier option for selecting all the tanks listed is to click All. Now that we've made our selection, click Use. Notice that the tanks that you selected display in the deck. For now, only the tank's code displays in the deck. After you move it to the map and save the tank map, more details will display. The last step in creating our tank map is to position the tanks on the map. To do this, we can drag the tanks from the deck to our tank map. Once a tank is on the tank map, you can click and drag it to a different position if you need to. If you want to remove the tank from the tank map, you can put it back in the deck by clicking the arrow in the upper right corner of the card, or by dragging it back to the deck. If you want to remove a tank from the deck, click the X that's on the card. If you know a tank's name, you can enter it in the Add Equipment field, then select it from the list. After you've positioned your tanks in the map, click Save. To view a tank map, be sure that you've selected the tank map icon from the sidebar. Next, click the filter icon. This displays a panel where you can select the tank map. You can also specify filters such as the date range for jobs and whether you want to include analysis jobs. After you've selected the tank map and specified any filters, click Search. Depending on the tank map size and default zoom level, you may need to zoom in or out. You can zoom in or out using the plus and minus buttons that are on the right. If you have a scroll wheel on your mouse, you can use that to adjust the zoom level. You can always click Reset to return the tank map to its default display size. If you want to reposition the tank map on the screen, just click and drag. Each tank map displays in its own tile. The number in the upper right corner of the tile tells you how many outstanding work orders there are on that tank based on the date range that you specified in the filter. The icon below the tank's name tells you what's in the tank. The bar on the left side of the tile gives you an idea of the tank's fill level. You can hover over each tile to view how much is in the tank, its capacity, and other information. While you're hovering over a tile, you can click the icon in the upper right corner to display a menu of actions. This menu lets you view the product, edit the tank's details, create a new work order, as well as a few other actions. You can also click the icon with a number to show a list of the outstanding work orders on the tank. Now let's say that we want to see which of these tanks contain cider. If we already have a saved search to display this information, we can click the filter icon to display the panel, then select the saved search that we want to use from the Highlight By list. For our example, we'll select the cider saved search, then click Search. If any of the tanks in your tank map are included in the Save Searches results, the tile is outlined in blue. We can see the tank T1-06 and T1-15 have a blue border. The tank map's highlighting capability is a great way to reuse any save searches that you might already have set up. The tank map will refresh its data using whatever time interval is specified for it. You can view and change this time interval by clicking the gear icon, then selecting Edit Refresh Setting. You can also manually refresh the tank map by clicking the refresh icon. Finally, if you need to change your tank map's layout or update the tanks that are on the map, you can click the gear icon and select Edit Tank Map. Now that you know the ins and outs of setting up and using a tank map, you can create one for your winery. If you have any questions or need any help, contact our support team or check out our help center. Thanks for watching.